and welcome to October's Mindful Crafts subscription box. And along the Halloween theme, we are going to be needle felting an owl, but it's not going to be a scary spooky owl. It's just going to be a nice little cute fluffy owl that you can have displayed for Halloween and for longer. So what you've got into this month's box is you've got quite a few different bits. Okay, so we've got some core wool, which, as the name suggests, it's going to be the core, the centre of the owl, and that's what we're going to work on first, making the actual owl shape with the core wool. And then I have given you just a bit of a selection of colours. So if you can see, these two are slightly different shades. You can mix and match your shades that you want your owl to be. So we've got sort of like a grey brown, a dark, a more chocolate, and more of a squirrel kind of grey brown. And then I've got a little bit of grey as well. You've also got a piece of foam. So when we're needle felting, we always work on a foam surface, and that's to protect the surface that you're working on, but also it's going to protect the needle when we're working, which I'm going to show you now. It's in this little envelope that you've got in your box, and here's our felting needle. Now, if you have never done needle felting before, I'll just explain a little bit about the needle. So you can see that it hasn't got an eye, so it's not like sewing, but it has got, if you just feel with the tip at the back of your little finger, you can feel it's got some little gauges in it. So those are called barbs. And how needle felting works is the barbs go into the wool, grabs the fibres, and then it all begins to stick together. Okay, which I even now, after a few years of needle felting, I still am amazed at how it works. But it is, once we start going, you'll see it's magic, and it's very therapeutic. So that's why we have got the foam mat as well, to protect the needle, because they're very sharp and they can be quite delicate, so we don't want to leave them just rolling around on our table. We're just going to leave it there in our foam. And you've also got a pair of eyes. Okay, so here's the pair of eyes that we're going to use for our owl, and you can see that they're on pins. Okay, so we've got everything ready. I'm going to leave my needle in my piece of foam. I'm going to move my owl away, and I'm also going to move these colours out of the way for now, because we don't need them just yet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how we use the core wool and the needle to make the basic owl shape. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, first of all, explain a little bit about the core wool. Again, just for those of you that haven't done needle felting before, the core wool, it's a short-haired, sort of like rough wool, which sticks together when felted quite quickly. Okay, so this is just as it comes off the sheep. It's all been washed, but this is just natural. It hasn't been dyed any particular colour. Okay, so this is the core wool, and as you can see, it comes in like clumps. Okay, so I've given you quite a chunk. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to use this to begin building the body of the owl. Now, we're not going to use it all at the beginning, okay, because if we tried to felt this, we'd be here for ages. Okay, so I'm just going to get a few of the clumps, and on my foam pad I'm just going to begin to roll it into almost like a sausage shape. Okay, it's going to look nothing like an owl for a while, so please don't worry. And with your needle, you're just going to just felt it or stab it, okay, just all over. Now, you don't want to do it too hard, because if you do it too frantically, you could snap the needle, okay, or you could end up getting your fingers. You just want to kind of let it go in and come out freely, and just keep turning your work. Just keep turning it until it begins to form a sausage shape. Now, as I said, it's a short-haired wool. It sticks quite quickly. So as you can see, already it's beginning to stick in a big sausage shape, if you like. You will also notice that you might have bits of natural wool in. Don't worry about that. It's all been washed. It's just natural. Okay, so you want to keep turning and turning, and keep your fingers well out of the way of where you're putting your needle. So if you can hold it one end and felt the other end. Okay, and you're just going to keep going and keep going. Okay, now this is where it's quite therapeutic, because you can kind of get lost in what you're doing here, because we want this to be quite firm, because it's going to be the inside of the owl. Okay, so if it's still quite soft at the moment, you can always just fold it a bit tighter, okay, and then just felt it from there. All right, so felt that together. Now, you're going to see lots of lumps and bumps in this at the moment, and that's absolutely fine, because this is the core. We're going to be wrapping it with all the other wool later. Okay, you can see that's a bit firmer already. I'm not worrying too much about these ends. Okay. And I'm going to keep turning it round and round. And the reason I'm turning it round and round is because I want it to keep that cylinder kind of shape. If I just kept felting in the same place all the time, it would flatten out. So we don't want that to happen. We want to just keep turning, keep felting. Okay, and then you'll get to a point, I mean, it's still fairly soft, but it's a lot firmer than it was, where you're ready to add a bit more of your core wool. Okay, so all I'm going to do is get another couple of clumps, put it round, and again I'm just going to roll it so it's fairly tight. Okay, you can see that that is a bit more tight now. We're wrapping, and again I'm just going to felt up and down. Okay, I'm not felting in the same place. Notice I'm just felting up and down and then turning it round. Okay, now working on the core shape is the bit that is going to take the longest, because we want the core shape to be right before we add on any colour. Okay, so what I'd like you to do now is carry on adding bits of the core wool until you're happy with the width of your owl. Okay, and again, don't worry about these bits at the moment, because I'll show you what we're going to do with those. So if you want your owl to be wider, you can carry on adding more bits of wool. If you want a taller, narrower owl, then that's fine, leave it, and then you could always make a smaller owl with the wool that you've got left. Okay, so it's entirely up to you how you would like your owl to look. Okay, they're not all going to be the same, and this is the beauty of this, that again everyone's been told the same thing, but I bet if we have pictures of everyone's once they've done, they all look entirely different. Okay, so if you just work on the width that you want your owl to be, okay, so it's a sausage shape at the moment, it's going to be standing up. You work on the width of your owl and I'll meet you back in a second. Okay, so I have made my sausage shape into the width that I want my owl to be. It will continue to get a bit smaller as we keep felting it, because the more you felt, the closer the fibres will stick together, so naturally it will become smaller. So I'm just going to move the rest of my core wool out of the way for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten down the end, okay? And if you remember in the first part, I said that if we keep felting the same bit in the same place, then it will create a flat surface. So what you're going to do is you're just going to fold all those loose bits at the bottom of your owl, and very carefully, not to get your fingers, you just want to felt the bottom, and you can see how quickly it sticks, okay? And then you just want to keep felting the bottom all around that, sort of like that bottom circle bit. If you just keep felting it in the same place, and then you can see how it is flattening out. Okay, if you've got any loose bits, you can just tuck those in as well around the edges. And again, this is just the core, so it's not going to be perfect. Okay, you are still going to see all those lumps and bumps, but that's absolutely fine. Okay, so you can see, because eventually he's going to stand up. Okay, he actually stands up all right like that. I don't know if you can see that, but he does stand up. Okay, but you can just keep working till your owl's got a completely flat bottom. There we go, that's flat enough. And then the head end, we don't want to be flat, we want it to sort of like have a rounded top. Okay, so as here, it's got a flat bottom and it's got a rounded head. So how we do that is I just tend to fold it over. Okay, and naturally you get the rounded head that way, and all you need to do is just keep going from side to side in almost like a rainbow kind of shape all the way around. So do one side, you can tuck that end bit in as well, okay, and then just keep going in your rainbow shape. So what you want to end up with is like a rounded top for the head and a flat bottom, okay? And just tuck any lumps and bumps that you've got sticking out, okay? So again, if you do that now, and I'll meet you in a second. Okay, so I've now got my owl body shape, and what I want to do now is, before we add the colour on the outside of the owl, I want to just make an indent. So if you can see around here, just how where the head comes in a little bit and then it goes out again for the main body. Okay, so what you're going to do to make that shape is decide where you want your head to be. Okay, it's probably about, if you split it into thirds, I'd say like the top third is going to be the head, and all you want to do is you're almost like marking it with your felting needle. Okay, you just want to sort of like make a little line all the way around. Guys, you can see it's beginning to indent. You'll probably be able to see it better in real life than on the camera. And keep going round, keep turning it. Okay, if I put it back on the mat, it's easier to work on the foam. Okay, and just keep going. And because you're felting that same place, it's doing, as I said earlier, it's the fibres in those places are closer together. So it's sort of like almost going smaller just because you're felting the same area. Okay. And it's just so that we can define where we want the head to go. Okay. So it looks a bit like a snowman at the moment, but we'll make him look like an owl. Okay, so you've got that now. Now you're going to decide which colour you want to make your owl's body. Okay, you can mix the colours. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But what we're going to do first is your wool comes in these like strips, and you want to take a strip, probably about 25-30 centimetres, and that's too thick. So for what we want to do to begin with, we just want to take that apart in half like that. Okay, and our owl is going to have a funny hairstyle for a while. So we're going to start with like the peak of the owl's head. Okay, so how I'm going to do that is I'm going to decide where the middle is going to be. Okay, I'm just going to make it there. Just place your wool going across, and then you just want to lightly felt it just in place, just like that. Okay, and just lightly, because if you decide you want to take it off and move it a bit, then you can do. If you felt it too much, you won't. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to push this back, and I'm also almost going to make like a heart shape. So if you see here, we've got the point that we've just done there, and it goes up like the top of a heart and then round to that line where we've just indented the neck. Okay, so you just make, see what I mean, he's going to have a funny hairdo for a bit. You just make that shape, just outline it lightly, and just do it to that line, don't go any further yet. Okay, because you want to work the other side and just make sure it's sort of matches, it's as even as the other side. Okay. So you can see there, I've got almost a heart shape, but I haven't quite joined it at the at the bottom of the heart. The heart's got an open bottom. Okay, so once you're happy with that, then you can just felt the rest of it, just so it's not in the way. Okay, turn your owl round if you need to. Okay, so I've just got that now, so it's lightly felted in. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to carry on. So you've probably got a bit left here from the head, right, and that is going to be the outline for the body. Okay, so we're going to make the outline here and this side, so that he's just his sort of like his tummy, his front is left exposed of the natural wool. Okay, so what I am going to do is we've got that other bit that we had left, and just pull that in half because that doesn't quite go to the bottom. All right, and I'm just going to place it, and this is still, as I say, what amazes me is how you just do this by sticking bits of wool together. No glue involved, no sewing, it's just the magic of the felting needle and the wool. Okay, so that's that side done. I can work on the shape in a minute. Then I'm going to get this other side done. Okay, so you should be able to now roughly see what your owl is going to look like. Okay, but we're going to carry on working on the shape, so don't worry if you think it's too soft. Don't worry if you think it's got lumps and bumps at the moment. Okay, and then all I'm going to do is these two bits here. Just going to join at the bottom. Remember, this bit needs to be flat so we can stand up. So here we can get away with just felting the same area over and over again. Okay, and there you go, we've roughly got our owl's body defined. Okay, but he's got a bald back. So what we're going to do, again using the lengths, is we are going to just fluff it out a bit. Okay, and I'm just going to keep it all going in that same direction. Okay, and what you're going to do is just felt that on. Just do it lightly first so it's stuck to the body. Tuck that bit underneath there and over his head. And then you're going to work and do the rest. Okay, so if you cover the rest of your owl with the main colour that you've chosen, and I'll meet you in a second. Okay, so I have wrapped the rest of the owl with the main colour, but I just wanted to point out, like here I've got a little bit of a bald patch, and here I've got a little bit of a bald patch. So to fix that, all you need to do is just take a little bit and just fluff it up in your fingers, and again you just kind of lie it down over the bit where you want to cover, and then you just felt it in. It's just magic. It's just so forgiving. You can just add bits as and where you need them. Okay, so I've got another bit there. So what I'm going to do is just get another little bit and add that on. And I'll just go around and check that it's all covered. There's another little bit there. Okay, so if you do the same, and then just make sure you work that neck bit again, just by going around that line that we made earlier, just to define between the neck and between the body and the head, sorry. And then just keep going all over your owl, just nice and lightly, but just felting it so you can feel it becoming firmer now. So just keep going until you are happy with your body shape and that it's firmed up. If you want to add any extra bits of colour, so if you decide you want to add a bit of the darker, then again you can just get a little bit and you can just add it on. And that's how you mix the colours if you want your owl to be a bit multicoloured. Okay, it's entirely up to you. So finish off working on the shape of your owl now, and then I'll show you how to make the wings. Okay, so there we go. I've added a few patches of the chocolatey brown to my owl. I've gone all over and made sure he's all nice and covered, and all that's exposed of the natural core wool is the front for his face and his chest. Okay, now one thing I will mention as well, especially if you're just adding in little bits of colour, if you begin to get holes, okay, it's because you're felting the wool into the other wool. Okay, so which is fine because we want it to stick to the main colour. But if I show you here, if you just then go in from the side at an angle, then those holes will begin to disappear. Okay, now if you become more interested in needle felting, then you can get finer needles which have got less barbs on, so you're less likely to get the holes. But because we're using a general purpose needle today, so just a little tip, if you do get holes, just go in from an angle at the side. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to make some wings. So I'm just going to put that to the side, and I'm going to get my first colour, my main colour that I've used for the body. And again, I've got another strip, probably about 20 centimetres this time. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it in half. Okay, hold it at one end so your fingers are out the way. And we're just going to begin to felt it, and we want this to be flat. Okay, because this is going to be like the wing shape, so it's a flat piece. So you're just going to felt all over to begin with, and you will probably hear that the wool is beginning to stick to the foam. So before we felt it too much, you just want to lift it off the foam, turn it over, and then felt from that side. Okay, and this is beginning just to create a flat piece of felt. Okay, we're going to leave these wispy bits because that's how we're going to attach it to our owl, but you want to just keep felting, turn it over, felting and turn it over. Okay, now at the moment that's far too wide for a wing, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to fold it in half again. Okay, and I'm going to do the same. I'm just going to keep felting this side, leaving these wispy bits. Okay, and then turn it over and keep felting again. Okay, and there we go. All right, you can keep felting and it will just get more firm. Okay, so what you need to do now is you need to do another one that's near enough. You're probably not going to get it exact, but you want to do it near enough so it's the same size as this one. Okay, and just keep felting it so it's nice and firm, so that you can kind of pose them once that they're made. Okay, so if you make a second wing, and I'll meet you back when we're done. Okay, so I've got my two wings and they are roughly the same size, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just neaten the edges, and again we're going to do this from going into the side, so be very careful of your fingers, and I'm just going to go in really lightly just to neaten the edges up. And you can use this method to shape them if you want your wings to be a particular shape. Okay, so if you can just neaten up the ends, move your wing round as you need to, And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put them one on top of the other. I'm not going to felt them together, but I'm just going to go round and just make sure that they're just roughly the same size and the same shape. Okay, again, just be super careful of your fingers. Okay, you can spend ages doing this, shaping them and making them how you want them to be. And again, if you wanted to blend a second colour into the wings, then you could do that as well. Okay, so I've got my two wings and I've got these fluffy bits exposed. Now what we're going to do is where your wing kind of stops being firm and where you've got the fluffy ends, that's where we're going to join it to the neckline that we made. Okay, so all we're going to do is just join it on that neckline. And again, you can see how quickly that sticks. We're going to leave the wing exposed, and then these fluffy bits, all we do is just felt it into the head. And it just joins, it just sticks. And it all blends in together. It's the beauty of this wool, is it just, you don't see any joins or anything, it just all blends in. Okay, so make sure that you've got that nice rounded head shape still by doing your kind of like rainbow effect. Make sure that's joined, and then you've got one wing. Okay, I'm going to do that the same with the other one, this side. The sound of it's really therapeutic. Okay, there we go. And just felt that all in. That's where it looks quite nice with all the different, all the two colours just felted in together. And where if you've got a little gap again like there, just go in from the side and it should close that gap. There you go. And you should have noticed what I meant now is the more that we're adding on, the more that we're felting, the firmer our owl is becoming. So you could sit and work on these for hours and hours, and the more you felt, it will become slightly smaller, but it will just become firmer and firmer. So it really depends on what kind of finish you want for your owl. It's quite loose to begin with, and the more you felt it just becomes tighter and firmer. Oh, I'm in the conservatory and it's beginning to rain, so right, there we go. Again, I could sit and mess with this for hours. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to add the detail on the owl's face. So if you wanted to, you could add a strip, and just a little strip of the wool to go like for his neck, and then we're going to add some bits of colour to the owl's chest. Okay, so I've got just another little thin bit, and I'm just going to roll this in my hands, which does the felting for you there. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is just felt that on, and then it will blend into the body like the rest of it did. And again, you can spend a lot more time doing this. I just want to show you how to do it. Again, go from the side if you need to close a gap, or if you've got a line, you can just, you know, get another bit, like when we covered up the ball patches, you could just get another bit and felt it on. Okay, so there's that. And then for the bits on his chest, again, you can use whichever colours of the wool you want to, but you only need a few little fibres, just a pinch is enough. And then again, roll them in your hand or roll them on your mat, and you'll get like a little, ball. And then we're just going to place these randomly on his chest. Now, what I would suggest is when you're sticking these on with your needle, just felt around the outside of the spot first, so it's secure, and then felt the middle in. If you felt the centre too hard to begin with, it will push in and you'll have dents in your owl, which we don't want. Okay, we just want to felt it lightly. Okay, so that's one. Again, you can do some bigger and some smaller. And I'm just going to place them at random all over his chest. Okay, so if you do that now, and I'll meet you when we're done. Okay, so I've added all the spots on the owl's chest, and I've just gone all over the owl and just given it a quick felt, tidy it all up. Again, you can work on these for as long as you want, really. You can tidy them up, firm them up. You can, if you decided you want to add a bit more colour and mix the colours a bit more, it's entirely up to you. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you how we're going to finish off by making the owl's beak and adding the eyes. So I'm going to go for a darker wool for this bit, and again, I'm only going to start off just by using a few fibres, and I'm going to begin by making a circle. And this is going to be easier to shape actually on the owl, because I want it to be like an upside down triangle. Okay, so I'm just going to felt it in from the top and make like a straight line here, and then felt it into a point, and then here again I'm just going to work from the side just to shape it into that upside down triangle. Okay, so for both sides, there you go, you can see it's beginning to take shape. Just use your needle to poke those fibres in. Okay, and there you go. And again, you can spend time making sure it's the shape that you want it to be. There we are. Right, so I'm going to leave that there. But then, if you notice, on this owl, I did some little lines that go up to his eyes. Okay, on this one I didn't, on this one I did. So again, it's entirely up to you, it's just a little idea. But you need even fewer strands for this. Okay, so just a little wisp, and just roll it in your hands again, because again that will felt it into that line. And then I'm just going to pull that apart in two, so it gives you two little lines. And again, it's just amazing how few fibres you need, really. Just going to make that little line there. Okay, now I'm just going to felt that in. Now I could use that just for the eyes, but I'm going to add the beaded eyes. I'm going to repeat that for that side. So I've got my little thin line that's going from his beak to his eyes. Again, you could have a look at some owl pictures and do your own designs. I'm just showing you basic owl, and then that bit can blend into the nose, the beak. Okay, so he actually looks like he's got eyes already, doesn't he, with the ends of that. But that's where I'm going to place his eyes. And the eyes that you've got, these are just craft eyes, and they come on pins. Now I will say, if you're going to give this to a child, then either please do not use the eyes and just use some more of the wool to make an eye, or you can glue these in once you've decided where they're going to go. Okay, please don't give this a child without securing the eyes or not using them at all. But what we're going to do is you're just going to put it where his eye is going to be, and you just have to wiggle it in, and then all of a sudden you'll feel that it will find a gap and it will go into the wool. Okay, and again, if you are going to glue them in, just make sure that they're in the right place first. There we go. And then you can just put a blob of glue on the pin. Okay, so now I'm just going to tidy up my owl's beak. Add any other bits on his chest if I want to. And then just keep going, just felt it just to make sure you're happy with how he stands up. I think his nose is a little bit big there, so I'm just going to work on just the side of the nose, because remember, the more you work on the same bit, the smaller it will go. So if you see, now it's becoming a bit smaller already. And again, you can see, you can just fiddle with them for ages. Okay, so there is our needle felted owl. Now, depending on the size of the owl that you've made for this one, you might have some bits of wool left. You can make a baby owl if you would like to. Okay, and I will join you in a few minutes and I will go through the bonus project. Okay, I'll see you shortly. Okay, so as you can see, I've just worked on my owl for a little bit longer, and it's looking a bit tighter, a bit firmer. I've just worked on shaping the head a bit more. So I just thought I'd show you the owl. Right, what we're going to do now is we're going to make a pumpkin. And in your bonus project little pack, you've got some of the cinnamon wool roving. Okay, and what we're going to do is we are going to work this length into a ball. Okay, so you're going to roll it as tight as you can. Okay, so there's no core wool for this project. We could use core wool if we wanted to, but I'm just going to make it straight from the coloured wool. Okay, and this is the Corriedale wool in pumpkin colour, funnily enough. And again, it's up to you how big you want your pumpkin to be. These are only going to be small ones to go with the size of the owls. Okay, but you never know, once you start making one, you might decide you want to make lots more. So I'm just working it all the way around to make a rough circular ball shape. Okay, I'm not going to worry about any lumps and bumps to begin with. I'm just turning it round to make it into a little ball. Okay, and again, you could work on this for ages if you wanted it to be really firm, but at the moment I just want it to hold its shape, and I still want it to have a bit of give for when we do the indents of the pumpkin. Okay, right, so there we go, we've got a rough ball shape. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take another little bit of the cinnamon, and I'm just going to, as we did before, just open it out. But this is going to cover up the lumps and bumps. Okay, and it's just, well, as you can see, it's just going to cover the pumpkin. All right, so if you do it like that, it will look nice and smooth, and then just felt it all the way around. Careful of your hands and your fingers again. Okay, and you just want to wrap it. There we go. So if you just wrap it and then just work on felting it all in different areas as you go along. Don't remember, because we want this to be round, we don't want to keep felting it in the same place. Okay, so see at the moment it's not quite rounded there, so I'm just going to work on just tucking those bits in. You only have to felt it really lightly just to push the fibres into the shape you want to, and then you can work on firming it up a bit more. Okay, and again, if you want to avoid deep holes, just going from the side just lightly to push the fibres behind the hole, and then in turn close the hole up some. I mean, the nature of felting is you're going to get some natural bits, and you know, you'll be able to see where you've gone in sometimes, but you just want to kind of minimise that a bit. Okay, so I've got my little pumpkin shape now. Okay, so it's a bit like a squashed ball, if you like. Okay, so that's the base of your pumpkin. And now what you're going to do is you're going to use the green, which is like an olive avocado kind of green. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use very thin bits of this. And again, you can either roll it in your hands or you can roll it on the foam mat, because it's like the friction will do the beginning of the felting for you. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to place it over my pumpkin. Okay, and then I'm just going to felt that in. These are so easy to make. And what I am going to do is, because I want the pumpkin to have like those little indents for each segment, I'm going to keep felting it like we did for the owl's neck all the way around until it meets the other side, and then you can just twirl it round if you want to. Whoop. It's alive. Now, the beauty of pumpkins is they are all funny shapes and sizes, aren't they? So it doesn't have to be exact. Right, so there we go. Keep working that in. If you want to make it a bit thinner, just go in from the side slightly there. Okay. Now it depends how many segments you want your pumpkin to have. You could have it just in 4 in quarters, so you could do another one there, but I quite like it in 6s, so I'm going to give it a bit more detail, and it will begin to look better when we add the others. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to get another bit of the green. Again, you only want it to be quite narrow. You can twist it, rub it in your hands. Okay, so I'm going to do one there. Such a relaxing craft to do, this is. Especially where I'm sat in the moment in the conservatory, you can probably hear the rain a little bit. It's just even more relaxing. But I film in here at the moment because it's got the best light. Hopefully next year we're having an extension on the side of the house, so I will have a room dedicated to well, the business really, but you know, dedicated to filming, and I'll be able to leave things set up, and hopefully I won't have the sound effects of the rain. Okay, so you can see there I'm beginning to get the definition now of those segments of the pumpkin. And I'm just going to do one more line over that side. So again, if you want the lines thinner than I've got at the moment, then you just use less fibres. So there you go, that's a thinner one. And I'm just going to felt it all the way in. All the way around, there we go. And then you can just felt it all over. So felt in those lines so that you get the segments. Okay, you can see it's really beginning to become defined now. There's another one. These are really nice, quick and easy things to make. These are great for kids to do as well. I know you're working with a sharp needle, but I have done needle felting with children from like age 7, because if you're really into it, you can get little finger protectors. But actually you'd be quite amazed how youngsters just pick it up safely anyway, as long as you know you've got a soft surface like your foam to work on, which you've got as your mystery gift in this month's subscription box. And you'll find that again that if you do more felting, you've got your needle, you've got your foam mat. As long as you've got those, then you can get bits of wool, and you'll be hooked. Okay, so you get the idea. As before, you can keep on working the wool till it's the exact shape and size that you want. Okay, and then I'm just going to make a little stalk. And to make a little stalk, again, I'm just going to go over with bits of the green, but this time I'm going to make it a bit thicker because I want it to be a stalk that stands up. Again, you might want to felt it as you go. You might also notice that actually you've got bits of fluff on your foam mat. You can just pull them out and defuzz the mat. Okay, just felt it, lift it up. So I've got bits of white on there, but hey ho, doesn't matter. I'm going to fold it over once more. About the end. Okay, so you've got something like that, and then all you're going to do is place it where you want the stalk to be, and again I'll have to put this down, but very carefully, just at the very bottom, just lightly felt all the way around, and go like sort of like diagonally from into the stalk into the pumpkin, and like I said, those fibres will join together, and that's what will stick it to the pumpkin. Okay, and then once you've done that, you can again just tweak it. Just be very careful of your fingers. Okay, and then you can sort of like fold your stalk over. There you go. And there you have your little pumpkin. Like I say, they're really lovely to make, especially if we've got a bit more time on our hands this Halloween. They're nice decorations, you know. They're not, I don't do horrible scary Halloween. Just like, there we go. Okay, so now we've got our owl and our pumpkin. I really hope that you've enjoyed the October subscription box, and I look forward to sharing November's with you. November's and December's are both going to be Christmas themed, you may have guessed, and November's we're going to be doing some Christmas macrame. So I hope you're looking forward to that one. If you don't subscribe to our channel, if you click on subscribe, and then you'll be notified with some other tutorials as they come along. Hit on the like button, leave a comment, and I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye.